finally we're live. I don't know if I trust it or not, but hello everyone. This is the Hacker Summer Camp live Q&A. So if you are on Twitch or YouTube, you can put comments in and they should come through to us so that we can see them and answer them. Otherwise, we'll just start telling you about all of the events at Hacker Summer Camp. But first, I guess let's start with introductions. How about Render? You go first.
I'm Renderman. I've been doing DEF CON since 1999, DEF CON 7. I think in all those years, you could actually count the rings in my liver from every year. Been doing conferences ever since. I have lost track. I literally have a giant, like Rubbermaid tote of con badges now. I have a black badge to DEF CON. Yeah, I've been going for a long time, spoken a bunch of times.
Speaking again this year.
Yes.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Straith.
I'm Straith. I have been going to hacker conferences all around the world since about, I guess, 2000. Oh, wait, no, I was going to say 16, but I think it might be 2020. No? Gosh, I'm so bad at this. 2012, maybe, I think was my first DEF CON. So yeah, over a decade of conferences. That's something I wasn't ready to reckon with.
But try over 20.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wish I'd been around for some of the older conferences and knew this was an industry that I could go spend time in. I think I would have had a much more fun teenage life, but now I work for Great Scott Gadgets. I make a bunch of open source hardware, write the documentation for it, starting to make educational videos for Great Scott Gadgets, get to show off our new projects like Syntheon, which, that's part of why I started attending conferences more and more, is to give trainings, to give talks, to hang out with people, to, see what tools people need and why and how to support the industry. So that's a bit of my background.
And I'm Nicole Schwartz, COO of Diana Initiative. I also work at Active State during the day, which is in Vancouver. They do portable developer runtimes. If you're a developer, you know what that means. If you're not, you probably are like, wah, 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 which is fine. And I have been attending DEF CON and North America-based hacker conferences since 2000, because that was DEF CON 8, I think. And I have done lots of B-sides and lots of other conferences. I also do tea conferences. You didn't know there was tea conferences? There are tea conferences. So in general,
her badge of badges, her box of badges is nearly as full as mine.
So yeah, I can compare and contrast different types of conferences if that's something we want to get into.
Well, and don't forget, you're like one of the big contributors to the conferences in North America too. Like every time there's a conference, I'm like, Nicole is there. She's part of it. And like, that's always
whether she wants to be or not.
Yeah.
By,
and like,
by the way, her and I are married, so just we're in the same house. So
yeah, he's below me.
I am on the other side of Canada. This is an all Canada stream right now, which is awesome. But yeah, I think contributing to conferences is a huge part of it too. And Nicole, you're kind of my inspiration for getting involved. So
no, don't get as involved in me. It's a bad thing. Don't do it. To everybody else, if you want to volunteer, you should definitely volunteer, but learn how to say no, which is not a thing I've learned yet. So volunteer, but have boundaries. And honestly, if you're an introvert and you're like, going to a conference sounds terrifying, volunteering at the conference, you instantly make friends. So it's like the introvert cheat sheet for making friends at conferences.
That is so true. And even me, so I've been staying at home and not going to conferences the last few years. Instead of attending in person, I've been volunteering online a lot more. And it's been almost as fun. Not as fun, but almost. And still get to get a lot closer with really cool people and make some awesome friends. So
So I guess let's start by defining what is Hacker Summer Camp, and then we can kind of go into general tips for each event and general conference tips. And then at the end, we could also like toss in Vegas tips if we want. So Hacker Summer Camp is a week in Las Vegas where a lot of different conferences occur. So the normal assortment of conferences is Black Hat, DEF CON, B-Sides Las Vegas, Diana Initiative, QueerCon, which I think is not doing their own thing this year, but is going to be one of the like get-togethers at DEF CON. They kind of go back and forth between having their own thing and being at DEF CON. SquadCon, which is new, and that's being hosted by Black Girls Hack. Did I already say Diana Initiative?
I don't know.
Diana Initiative, if I didn't. And who knows, there could be other things that pop up. You never know. But because they all occur pretty much in the same 7-day period, and tons of information security / cybersecurity / people who just are interested in hacking, you don't have to be in the field. It is just a lot of fun. Show up to Las Vegas and melt.
Interestingly enough, there are occasionally other conferences going on completely separate from InfoSec and everything, but dovetail nicely. I remember there was a number of years, RollerCon, a roller derby conference was going on in the city at the same time.
Or the Star Trek one.
The Star Trek one for a number of years. Well, they would come over to our parties, and that was always never ended well. But the roller derby girls, man, they all were coming over to our parties because they were way better.
Which is, pretty interesting to say when you have roller derby parties as the other option.
Well, I mean, I think the salespeople that show up to Hacker Summer Camp and have the expense cards help the Hacker Summer Camp parties. So
that's true.
I don't know, some of the best parties I've been to at cons or the impromptu, nobody planned this. Hey, you left your room door open and it said you had a bunch of liquor. Like,
it takes time to get there, though. For the newbies, that's not going to be step one, right? That's a privilege of going to conferences for a really long time.
So let's actually start with what everyone should be doing now before you even go out to Las Vegas. Straith, let's start with you. Any tips for like mentally prepping online to be in the best place possible when you arrive?
So for me, I have a lot of dietary restrictions, and Vegas is huge. There was so much space between everything. So for me, especially like when I was on a student and on a very restrictive budget, planning your food is number one. And so for me, like, I didn't have the gluten and dairy-free issues when I started, but that meant I would always go to the Cheesecake Factory in Caesars Forum to get like the biggest meals I could throughout the day and then just keep them in my backpack. So like, planning your restaurants, planning containers that you can keep in your bag that will hold really liquidy leftovers is also
without
good.
Popping open.
Yeah, like if you get like a really good pasta from Cheesecake Factory and that's your meal that you're eating for the rest of the day, or you buy a second meal to take with you and keep in your bag, like you need something that's not going to spill. So like I'm very food centric though, so planning your meals, where you're going to get them, realizing it's fucking hard to walk to most places in Vegas. So like knowing your food's going to be far apart.
The next hotel over could be like a mile.
Yeah. And there have been too many times I've been at a con and somebody's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm like hangry. I'm shaking. I'm bad." Like there's too many times that has happened to me where I've been in a really bad situation because I didn't plan my food out. So honestly, that's my number one tip.
If you're in any sort of like restricted budget or anything like that, one of the best things that I started doing fairly early on was to catch a cab or a ride with somebody, or get off the strip and go to like a Sam's Club, Albertsons, some like regular grocery store, and buy like your breakfast bars, your granola bars, milk and cereal, like just the snacky stuff, because Vegas is expensive. That every meal unless you're going to like McDonald's, the meals are these big ornate things. It's like if you just want like a granola bar or something like that, it's probably gonna, particularly if you're getting it anywhere near the conference space or the hotel,
the other thing there too, though,
$6 for that granola bar.
There are, I think, Amazon delivery boxes in the hotels that you can order things to and pick up. So if you want, another thing I suggest is like doing an Amazon order of like 100 granola bars to one of these boxes and then just putting them in your backpack, because it's
like
also, yeah, because it's also a great way to make friends. Is if they're hungry, hey, can I offer you a granola bar?
Yep.
I've made a lot of friends that way.
Just getting off the strip, buying, like, you can still do like your dinner at a restaurant or whatever, but invariably there's so much to do. You don't want to sit down for a breakfast or a buffet or something. A, they're expensive. B, they take time. So just cramming your face full of something instant, or like I said, a granola bar or whatever. Same with a lunch. You could be sitting in a talk, be really engaged or in a great conversation, not want to go off and find food. So making sure you have something to at least tide you over is a really good thing.
Absolutely.
As a quick side note, we seem to be having issues with the Twitch chat. So if you're on Twitch, feel free to pop over onto YouTube, because I think the chat is working over there.
Yeah, I'm sending you things to fix that.
Da-da.
The major thing is, if you're on a limited budget, just get off the strip. Then things are a little more normal.
Even when you factor in the cost of the Uber or the taxi, you can get really good food in Vegas if you just hit like Chinatown.
If in the little like commissary, food area that is in the con space for DEF CON, a Red Bull normally like $4 at a 7-Eleven is well over 10.
Yep.
10 or 12. It's freaking highway robbery is what it is, but you're paying for that convenience and then some. So buying a 12-pack of Red Bull or whatever at the store, after 2, I think you've like paid for it. And the other thing is like carry like a canteen or a empty bottle or something. Water.
DEF CON and B-Sides Las Vegas usually have water stations around, and so being able to refill your
most
water
of the hotels
bottle.
are moving that way, because it's Vegas. The rule I learned, one of the rules I learned early in my career going to these things was, if you don't feel you need to pee, drink more.
Yep.
Like it sounds a little gross, but Vegas is hot, and I mean, this was the years where we were at the Alexis Park for DEF CON and the tent on the roof, infamous tent on the roof, where
we met at the tent on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really sweet.
And there's video evidence of it too. But the heat in Vegas permeates everything. Like, even if you're indoors in air conditioning, if you're in a room with 5,000 other people, that's a lot of body heat and stagnant air and everything like that. So staying hydrated is incredibly important.
And there's a flip side to that too, though, right? Is that all of the conferences keep their spaces too cold. So I find like my outfit ends up being a crop top and shorts outside, but as soon as I get inside, I'm throwing on a parka. So that's another thing. If you want to prepare for these conferences, think about your wardrobe and realize that you are going to need something warm for inside, or run a lot while you're inside.
Speaking of layers, also make sure comfy shoes. When we were saying you have to walk to get from one place to another, comfy shoes, comfy insoles, and layers when you're prepping your packing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And my comfy shoes these days are really cute hiking boots. I learned that in Vegas, just buy a nice black pair of hiking boots and you're set.
Like real hiking boots, not just something that's fashionable.
Yeah.
Timberlands or something.
Yeah.
And for me, it's usually army boots or first responder, meant to be used all day every day. Steel toes.
Honestly, my hiking boots are Steve Madden, and I wear them till they fall off my feet. They're so comfy. But that's a
break them
fashion
in
brand.
before you get to Vegas.
Yeah, but buy them before you get to Vegas because Vegas
Break them
prices are ridiculous.
Well, and just to
Also
break
breaking them in. So start breaking your shoes in now. Like hit wherever you buy your shoes, and start taking walks around the block.
And another thing too is like, I'm not the only one who does this, but like bringing a backpack to Vegas is really nice, because then you can put your food in it, you can put your tools in it. Like if you want to learn how to do SDR stuff, put your SDR in your backpack. If you want to learn how to lockpick, have your lockpicks in your backpack. Like bring the tools that you want to play with or you want to show off when you're there, because that's another big prep part for me is finding the projects you want to show off and bringing them. Like my Las Vegas I was at. Yeah, right. Like my last Hacker Summer Camp week I was out there, I won the hard hat competition where you get a hard hat, you decorate it with a bunch of stuff, try and make it more like useful, unique, and all of that. And I made like a hard hat that I turned into an RC car and I could drive around the stage. Like, but that takes time ahead of time. You have to pack it, you have to bring it, so that might be extra luggage space. You have to get an extra piece of luggage. Like there's stuff like that too that you might end up bringing like 2 or 3 bags because there's so much you want to show off, especially the longer you've been going to conferences.
The other part of that though is, and I've seen this with some people where they have these giant backpacks and there's a subconscious need to fill them, and so they will bring all their laptops, all their tools, everything in the backpack, and carry this thing around all day and regret it because they didn't think about what they would actually need versus what they might want.
Yeah, and honestly, I've done that.
This is one reason I still try to stay at as close as I can to where DEF CON is at their hotel or Jason, just because, okay, if I did need something, it's not, you know, a 30-minute cab ride away or something. It's okay, maybe a 15-minute walk there and back. But
that's another part of prepping too, though, is making sure you pick the right hotel. And often the right hotel is one that is the conference hotel or right beside it, because by the time you spend
that comes with a
$30
financial premium though. Yes. So 100% plan that you would have to take 4 cab trips a day. So if you can find, because there are absolutely $40 and $50 hotel rooms that are not sketchy in Vegas. So if you find that $40 room and you plan, okay, there's going to be the 4 taxis that I need and I still save money, that may be the position that you are in.
Yeah.
If on the other hand,
or if you have a vehicle.
Yeah. Except now, they charge for parking now. So when you get to the DEF CON location, you'd have to pay parking. So you'd have to factor that in, and rental car.
Yeah, and see, I made a mistake one year that I didn't realize how often I was gonna be going back and forth. So I spent I'm ADHD as fuck, so I forget a lot of things. And I took so many cab trips; it would have been less expensive for me to get the more expensive house or hotel closer.
So know thyself. If that's going to be you, it is worth paying the premium. Also, why not find a roommate now? Like, I actually roomed with a couple people who ended up being amazing. Like, I'd never met them in person before and roomed with them, and it worked out really well. Arrange ahead of time how you're going to do the exchange, whose card it's going to go on. If you're both in different countries, make sure you can figure out how you're going to do the money exchange. I would talk to them on a video call and on chat a bunch of times, figure out if you're, a morning person and a night owl. May not be the best combination, but there's so many people attending. You can find someone to room with, and that can also be an alternate way. Instead of looking for a super cheap room, just find somebody to stay with.
Because honestly, if you're doing con right, you won't be in the room much.
Yep, that is absolutely true. I know that's what I did my first 2 years is I actually heard about DEF CON from my hackerspace, made friends at my hackerspace before I went. And all those people had been to DEF CON so many times before. That's something you should do before you go to the conference. Try and make a couple friends or a couple people to meet up with. It changes the conference for you. It's so much better with at least one other person to have meals with or walk to talks with. But yeah, go to your local hackerspace, make some friends, ask if they've been to DEF CON, if they have tips, if they do, carpooling, and you can get a spot in the carpool, or if people are looking for people to share rooms with, like check out your local groups because there's usually a number of people who do want to go.
And we do have a couple comments in chat. One of them is a super thin sweater is useful, that or a hoodie, 100%. The other one is, what is Elite Badge? So if you're talking specifically about the Diana Initiative, that's just a upgraded badge pack that comes with more swag items as opposed to the human. So you will see across many of the Hacker Summer Camp events, the standard badge is called the human badge, and that's just what everybody gets. And then everybody has like other flavors. So there's usually like a speaker badge and so on and so forth. So the Elite badge, if you're talking TDI, is going to be the like just upgraded swag pack. If you're talking Elite badge for DEF CON, somebody may be using improper terminology. What happens is when you go to DEF CON, if you get there within the first X number of people, you get whatever the badge of the year is. This year it is electronic badge. It's not an electronic badge every year. Some years are non-electronic, but you get the nice fancy one. And then after they run out of those, you get like a laminated paper one, which is way less exciting.
If there's more people than they ordered badges for, which has happened.
Happens often.
But yeah. The other term too is there's DEF CON has their black badges, which are for contest winners from years past, and they get you free access for life, which I have one. I really should total it up. It's like
you do need to
I'm
see.
pretty sure I've saved about $5,000 over the years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm envious.
I'm pretty sure Jeff hates me.
I mean, but you also have spoke at enough events and do enough talking about it that, it's not their worst investment that they ever made.
Well, and there are people that come to DEF CON to meet other people, and Render, you are one of those people that people go to conferences to meet. So
unless he takes off his hat and then nobody knows who he is.
That's true.
If you're looking for me, look for a black fedora.
But that is actually a thing. So if you want to be recognized, because there are so many people at Hacker Summer Camp, so many, you should do something to make yourself noticeable. So we had talked a little bit about contests. So A, make sure when you're packing, you're ready for layers and comfy shoes and everything else. And any contest, do some exercise now on what contest do you want to participate on, and do you need to bring stuff with you for it? But next, is there something like his fedora that you can bring that people are going to recognize and be able to spot you? I do something where I make a little name badge. I'm going to wander and be right back with that. You can explain the name badges.
Yeah. So
never mind. He's got one right there. So it's got name, handle, and image from what you use as an image online.
Social media.
And so everyone is like, oh, I remember talking to that image on social media. I know who you are. So having either stickers with your online avatar or a badge like that, or a hat, or just something that you can tell everyone, I'm going to be wearing this thing.
Hawaiian shirt or something.
Yeah, don't make it
a drink with an umbrella.
If it's a black shirt, nobody'll know who you
are. My in-home bar master just delivered this, so
lovely.
Yeah, which is another part of Vegas, is there's a lot of drinking, and if you are not a drinker, have some phrases ready to say, like, no thanks, I don't drink, and that's totally okay. There are so many nice people. Everyone will be fine with it. Just
if they are jerks, you actually don't want to be hanging out with them anyway. It's a large event. There's going to be a percentage of jerks at any large event, period. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't matter what event you're at. If it's a big enough event, there will be jerks. If somebody says, when you say, hey, I don't have a lot of money in my budget, can we go somewhere less expensive? Or, hey, I don't drink, or whatever, and they're not willing to find a solution, because bars can do mocktails and stuff. In fact, there's really cool mocktails nowadays. And if that group that you're with is not willing to accommodate you, leave it, find a new group. It is not worth it. You want to have fun during this week, and to have fun, you need to find people who are willing to work with you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
For many, many years, my drinking at DEF CON, and I was fairly legendary. And yeah, just in the last few years made the choice to stop. And yeah, I expected there actually be more pushback, but there wasn't. Everybody's like, "Oh, okay."
No, because we respect you and love your choices. Like, you're good.
Everybody should. And the thing is, I'm actually liking it now, where a lot of like the craft breweries are coming out with non-alcoholic beers, and there's non-alcoholic gins. Like any bartender with their salt should be able to make you something good.
There was a call out for the pool parties. There are lots of awesome pools in Vegas. Yes, don't forget to pack a bathing suit or a wedding dress if you want to swim in a wedding dress, but that may just be me.
But nobody's going to be. I mean, they may offer to pour liquor down your throat, but nobody's forcing you to.
Mm-hmm.
And not being aware of yourself and being aware of your limits, because the heat in Vegas will do weird things to you. So if you're drinking and you're sweating and losing water, it will hit you even harder.
Yeah.
You may think, oh, I've only had a couple of drinks. That's my usual. I'm fine. But you've been hanging out outside. It can really sneak up on you.
And honestly, the temperature can sneak up on you too. When you're walking between hotels, because I think it's all in the new place this year.
On the Forum, but I know that last year they also had some stuff over in the Flamingo.
Yeah, so
there is some stuff spread out. Yeah.
If you're not good with heat and you're like me and you just can't handle it and you stay indoors until it gets dark because otherwise you almost pass out, pick one place to stay for the entire day. Like, even if there's stuff elsewhere, just stay in one hotel.
One of the best gifts I was ever given, actually, by Deviant many, many years ago, was a neck cooler. It's upstairs right now, but it's a fabric tube with like a super absorbent gel, like you use for flowers and stuff like that. So you soak in water, and these things plump up, and you wear it around your neck, and it just keeps moisture on your neck, and it really helps keep you cool throughout the day. And you can just go to a water fountain or whatever and top it up if you want, but it's
know your
really
limits.
I know some people are handing them out this year as well, so if you can get one in advance, that's a real lifesaver.
Yeah, so I guess to kind of summarize, do some research on all the different hotels, what the schedule is, what the contests are, where you're planning to stay. Can you either get Amazon same-day delivery to the hotel for your snack needs, or is it worth just paying to get an Uber or taxi out to Albertsons or one of the other grocery stores and stocking up on your Red Bulls or sodas or whatever else, bringing your water bottle, comfy shoes, layers, so many layers, bathing suit. So that's kind of the general prep now, but let's kind of go into specific conference bits. I will start with TDI. TDI is one day this year. We're giving one day a try. And then after the event, we will do feedback. And based on feedback, we'll decide what we want to try next year. It is on the second floor of the Westin. So the Westin is across from what used to be called Bailey's. Now it's called Horseshoe, because Vegas hotels like to rename themselves. And you can absolutely walk to the Westin from the Tuscany, which is where B-Sides Las Vegas is, or from Horseshoe. If you go early in the morning, I'm not going to recommend you walk at noon because it's going to be rather toasty. But like early morning or later in the day, you could definitely like pack your backpack, come and do all day. There's going to be 2, possibly 3 speaker tracks. The schedule is not up yet. It should be coming soon, but you can already research what villages and hands-on workshops we've got going. So for example, we've got a maker village where there's soldering and everything. So do you want to pre-buy one of the electronic badge kits? Because there's this whole thing called Badge Life, where people end up wearing ridiculous amounts of cool electronic badges. Because other than the official ones, tons of people show amazing creativity and versatility of like making awesome badges. And so you're going to want to bring cash to be able to potentially buy them, or look around right now because people are selling them in advance. And also, if anyone invents like a really nice thing to pad your neck, because it gets to be a lot of badges, just as a warning.
There's some people walking around looking like Mr. T back in the day.
So anywhere from 1 to like 20 badges is what I've seen. And when you get to the 20 badges, it fills your backpack to give you an idea of how much.
You hear them coming down the hallway.
Yeah.
Ka-chink, ka-chink, ka-chink. So yeah, think about how you're going to wear them all, and do you have the money to buy them all, and do you have to assemble them, and are you going to be going to the soldering village? So yeah, TDI one day this year. There's a social at the end of the day. The social is going to have karaoke, Dungeons and Dragons, trivia. I'm also going to be sticking stickers on people who have been to Hacker Summer Camp before, so you can ask them questions about the rest of the week. And yeah, second floor. Everyone's always like, it was really hard to find you. Just go into the hotel and find the elevator and go to the second floor. And then as soon as you come out, you'll see the reg desk. Any other TDI tips? No.
Know what you're going for. So like some people go to get knowledge, some people go to make friends, some people go to make stories, and know what you're going for. You know, my first couple years I went for knowledge, and so I attended a lot of talks, made a lot of friends those years. Next few years, I go for networking because I was trying to find a job. After that, now I go for the stories. I go for the bonding, and I go to just like have weird stuff to say the rest of the year to the normal people. So like know why you're going, and any of those reasons is fine, but you're going to be overwhelmed 100% because all of this is awesome. I've reviewed a bunch of the talks. They look great. Like you are going to be overwhelmed with choice. So like pick one goal for the year. You're going to go back next year. It'll be fine.
I think it applies to all the conferences, Black Hat, DEF CON, TDI, besides all the events. Don't try to do everything. Don't try to do all the things because you can't. And I've seen people that have like, you know, a spreadsheet of like, oh, I want to go to this talk and this talk and this. They don't realize that the talks fill up, and you know, you have to wait.
And there's going to be lines, and it takes a while to get from one to another.
And you spread yourself too thin, and you don't get to really dive into the things you want to. So what we recommend is every day, you know, for the con, pick one, maybe two things you definitely want to see, right? You know, make sure that you're in line for the thing, or that you allocated the time to build the thing or do whatever in a village or learn a skill. But allowing yourself that free time, that's where the stories come in. That's where things,
and the networking.
Yep.
Which, you know, kind of happens alongside the stories, I think. But some of the best things that have ever happened to me were completely random. And as Straight says, it makes for wonderful stories when you come back to, you know, the rest of the world. Like I have friends that for years were like, nah, you couldn't have done that. No. And then a couple of them went to DEF CON with me. And after that, they were like, anything I tell them now, it's like they believe me. And I've got other people that also believe everything I say because there is no way you could make that shit up. Right. That had to have happened because there's no way you can make that up.
And that's a distinct part I feel with Hacker Summer Camp. It's less conference and more outlandish party.
It is like, a chance for a lot of particularly early on in the early years, it was, you know, the typical basement dwelling geeks. This was the only time they ever got out socially to see others and everything. Got out of the basement. So there was a lot of pent up energy. And you get a bunch of those geek types. They're going to show off, and it shows up in interesting ways.
Yeah.
The shenanigans of old don't compare to nowadays, but it's still nice to see people do like random crazy things. Like there was one DC 949 that had the mobile party. They had a bunch of backpacks with synced up music, and you know, a light show in the backpack. And you know, because we weren't allowed to have parties in the hotel, you know, their excuse was, well, we're just going to the party. Well, and it happened to be the moving party.
And this is the thing.
We're having a party that we're going.
Is you get these stories. Like, this is why you make friends with people who've been to conferences before.
The story was
they
when
will tell you the stories.
The story on that one was when somebody said, I have to go to the bathroom. And so the party all went into the bathroom. Music and everything.
Yeah.
You know, again, stuff you can't make up.
There was a question about attendance. TDI is expecting 300 people, I think, this year. I would love 400. So if you're thinking about coming, please come. We've got free tickets for students and underemployed and unemployed people. DEF CON last year had 25,000. I'm thinking it's probably going to be a smidge less this year because the economy and also the ticket raise, the price of the tickets went up. So I think there's going to be a bit less. That was also the big 30th year, and I'm not sure about B-Sides Las Vegas. Usually their tickets sell out and they have not sold out yet. So if you want the opportunity, get your ticket now because it probably will sell out in the end. But they're limited, I think, to a couple thousand just because of hotel space.
Yeah. But it's basically most of the downtown Vegas, or I guess not downtown Vegas, but the strip. You'll notice everyone walking around with the badges, and that's one of the things that some people do is they keep their badges on the whole time so they can make friends. Because you'd be like, "Oh, conference, hey friend," and like you can do that. You can just say, "Hey, conference buddy," and then that's it. Like you have a new friend for life.
That icebreaker that you need.
Especially if you're both wearing like 10 different badges, you're both in badge life. So
yeah.
And particularly if it's any of the ones you have to like boop or connect or something else.
Yeah, there's a large social component to this conference. It's less like other industry conferences in other industries where you go, you attend a talk, you attend a dinner, you go back to your hotel, there's nothing else. Vegas is the opposite. Like there's always something, and like the 4 hours of sleep I get a day is like, why do I have to sleep? Sort of experience.
Should we bring up the other rule?
First, there's a question I'm going to answer first, and y'all can then fight me on this one because this one will probably create some rift. But I heard from someone that people might hack into our devices. How, should I be worried? So the only time I have had a device hacked at a hacker conference was Hackers on Planet Earth. And I was the idiot who turned on my Bluetooth and left it on accidentally for like 15 minutes while I was goofing around. You are not likely to be hacked. Nobody is dropping a 0-day at the conference and wasting it on you. Not that there's anything wrong with you, but just they're going to save it for something where they can get like $1 million. However, if you are planning to take your devices and connect them to specifically hostile networks, i.e. participate in some of the CTFs and everything, you may get friendly fire where people are just on the network trying out crazy things, and your device may just get bad stuff happening to it because you chose to connect to that network. So if you're concerned, don't connect to the networks and turn off your Bluetooth and your NFC. I recommend what I call a YOLO device, which is like grab your old phone, clean it, and then bring that to the conference so that you can go ahead and play in all the contests and stuff and connect to the scary networks and see what happens. And you don't care what happens because it's your last, device you had 3 years ago or whatever.
But do know that those devices usually do have an O-Day on them.
Yeah, I mean, they're usually, everything is vulnerable. Nothing is ever safe. But so my thought is, if you take the effort of like not connecting to every single network you see and like leaving on your NFC and your Bluetooth, you're going to be just fine. But you do want to bring a clean device that you can play if that's your thing. If you're not your thing, you want to like solder instead, fine. But like take the opportunity to go break some shit. Like this is the time.
I mean,
you guys.
I totally agree with you on that. And the only other like tiny piece of advice I have is like realize that a lot of the apps you use are just sending stuff in the clear. There's nothing you can do about that. And there are people just dragging the internet out there. You can go to different villages at DEF CON and just see what they're collecting from the ambient air, right? Like Wall of Sheep. And Packet Hacking Village, and your stuff is gonna get out there because your apps are a bunch of them are inherently not safe, and they're sending pictures in the clear, or they're sending like email is in the clear. Like, sorry, you're gonna have some problem.
It's one of those things where what ends up, any of the hacks you hear about are generally somebody who was already doing something really stupid and set themselves up for it, and they were just low-hanging fruit, and somebody decided to have some fun and make their Bluetooth speaker play the Nyan Cat theme or whatever. It's not malicious. Nobody, as was mentioned. So one thing that a lot of people don't realize is DEF CON, you can get a mirror port on the main switch. I don't know if they're still doing that, but they used to, where a lot of like major security vendors and that would basically record all the traffic. They would get a mirror port and just dump all the traffic, looking for anybody, doing any 0 days or just, patterns and stuff like that. But it was known that, hey, use of this network is, YOLO. So nobody's going to drop a 0 day on you because that would be the stupidest place to do it. If you take basic precautions, like on your phone, have a VPN back to your home box, or this is one of the few times where one of those commercial VPNs actually might actually be useful. But just
I'm going to do a plug for Pure VPN. I use it. It's cheap. It's not going to protect you if you're a super secret squirrel hacker trying to hack the government, but it's super good for making sure when you're in Starbucks that people aren't reading your email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you take some very basic precautions, and if you're into InfoSec, it's hard to learn what those are. You should already be doing them. And yeah, it's not a problem. I wouldn't expect anybody to be specifically targeting you. It's because you threw up a giant flare that said, "Hey, I'm wandering around with a vulnerable device."
Challenge accepted. Can somebody please go get a Windows 3.11 box and pop it on the network this year? I think that would cause a feeding frenzy of hysteria, from everyone laughing.
That was my first operating system.
It was my second or third, but
I'm just a baby.
It's one of those. If you are doing if you need to do your banking or something like that, don't do it on the DEF CON network. Just think about what you're doing.
There are definitely going to be some malicious people, so make sure if you're using an ATM, you choose one that's near one of the cages where they do the cash outs that has obvious
Nobody's
cameras.
Screw with a casino.
Yeah, avoid a sketchy one in the nearby convenience store. Probably, go for ones that are well lit and visible by people, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who talk up how scary DEF CON is because they want to feel cool and not because it's the actual reality. And for me, a lot of it.
Say nobody's trying anything because everybody's too drunk.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I have my phone. I use it for Signal that week, so I can know where all the best parties are and flirt with people that I've just met. And I'm like, cool, DEF CON's great. It's fantastic. And then that's about it. Talking about filling up the backpack thing, I've carried my laptop around for years at DEF CON, have not used it more than twice, in 10 years, because I'm just too busy hanging out with people, partying, going to talks, going to lunches, dancing. There's no time for hacks. There's only fun.
Now, on the other hand, if you're planning to hit the villages and spend time there all day, it may be worth you bringing your laptop if it's one of the hands-on villages
or something like that. If there's an
so
obvious need
we were saying, do the recon now to figure out what your cool one thing for each day is going to be. So Thursday is the day I need to bring my laptop, and the rest of the time I don't need to bother. And save yourself the weight in your backpack if you don't need it. All right, so we talked TDI. We've talked a lot of generic stuff. How about B-Sides Las Vegas tips and tricks? It's in the Tuscany, which is a little off strip. The rooms there are ginormous. The parking there, I think, is free or super cheap.
Yep.
All the rooms have mini fridges, which is nice if you want to actually have things that are cold and whatever. The pool is decent sized, and they usually have it for Wednesday night for the pool party. Most of the talks are second floor, I think.
Yeah, and there's a second pool next to the gym that's a lap pool. So if you need to exercise, the Tuscany is where I go all week to do weightlifting, laps in the pool. They also have a bit of running space in the gym.
They have washers and dryers that are pretty cheap if you want to not pack a ton of clothing.
And I will point out too that the washers and dryers, you don't need a key card to actually access them. You don't actually have to be staying at the Tuscany. So you find yourself, short on underwear or something, and need to do some wash. Yeah.
Make friends will tell you things. And besides Las Vegas, in the Tuscany, they also have Maryland's, which is one of the cheapest, biggest breakfasts that you can get. So if you are staying at the Tuscany, go there. You can get like steak, eggs, bacon, hash browns for like $8.
They do get pretty busy at like the normal breakfast time, so you either want to go a little early or go a little late.
And there's also a shuttle from there, usually to DEF CON and Black Hat. So you can usually take that instead of taking an Uber, and that's free and multiple times per day. They just constantly go.
That is TBD. I haven't seen it listed on the website this year. I think it usually requires a sponsor or two. So fingers crossed they get the sponsor because, yeah, the shuttle is super duper handy. And if not, there's probably a bunch of people staying there who are also trying to go to DEF CON. So just try and find who they are and like do 3 or 4 of y'all at a time.
And even when you're coming from the airport, that's usually what I do is I see the taxi line and how long it is. I'm like, who's going to? And just yell at my hotel and someone will be like, I am. I'm like, can I carpool? And they usually say yes. So that's an option.
That's a common thing too of ride pooling and like, don't be afraid to just stand up and yell, like if you need something. Like, hey, anybody going to such and such a hotel, or has anybody got like a Cisco console cable?
So I will put out there, because there's going to be people who are more, at risk than others. If you are in a casino, casinos have so much security staff. I have been rescued by casino security staff because I got so drunk I fell down on the floor. That was a year. Please remember to drink water when you're drinking, because as we mentioned earlier, it's rather hot and it sneaks up on you. But so if you are in like a well-lit casino, whatever, and you're going to another well-lit casino, whatever, I'm going to be weird here and I'm going to recommend you take a taxi, because those are actually regulated, and then go to whatever hotel with whoever new stranger you just met. And I have not had a problem at all. I know like there's like the need to be concerned about things, which is totally legit, but there is so much security in Vegas. If you're going from one well-populated place to another well-populated place and you're going with an actual taxi service, you are probably going to be just fine.
Yeah, I've had a lot of taxi people stand up for me. Like when somebody's like, oh, we should get out here. I'm like, no, I'm going here. And they're like, the lady said what she said, and they support me. So agreed on how awesome the taxi people are. Also, talk to them. They have amazing stories too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. And sometimes when there's traffic, you get to hear a bunch of wild stories, where I had one driver last year or the year before who had been driving since the mob used to run Vegas, and was like, yeah, there were a couple things that were really better when the mob was running it. And they were like comparing and contrasting Vegas now to then. It was kind of interesting and scary. All right, so it's besides Las Vegas. All right, DEF CON, the big whale. Goons are loud, and there's a lot of them, but you want to listen to them because they are actually trying to make the event the best it can be for everyone. They're telling you to make a hole and move out of the way because they need to get a speaker through. They need to get supplies through. They need to make sure that the hotel doesn't get in trouble for blocking, emergency exits, because, oh my goodness, the fire wardens and everything there will find the heck out of everyone if they have any excuse to do so. So I know it seems like sometimes they're being a little gruff and mean, but they're doing it for a purpose. Just cooperate with them, please.
The best way to think of the goons, and the best description I've ever heard of them, is fun enforcement. They are there to make sure you have a good time. If you are doing something to prevent somebody else having a good time, that's when they get involved and can make your day suck. So make sure you aren't impeding anybody else's fun or safety or those things.
Not to make anyone, like, I kind of had some bad experiences with goons, so I'm always sketched out by a lot of them, and I get really uncomfortable around a lot of them. But I've found that when I have been like, this goon made me feel so uncomfortable, others have jumped in and rectified the situation. And this has happened 4 times to me, and those goons were not on the crew the next year.
All the goons wear a thing with their name. If you can notice and remember their name and report them, DEF CON is not screwing around. If you give a report with the person's name and an approximate date time, maybe it's not going to fix it for this year, but it will fix it for the future.
They are volunteers, and there's only so much background check or anything you can do. You do have to take it is a system of referrals, so somebody's vouching for them. You never know when an asshole, because there are hundreds of people volunteering behind the scenes there. So in any large group there is going to be a certain percentage. And DEF CON has taken a lot of steps to be very accountable to those things, and they have bounced goons like banned for life to behave very improperly.
Yep,
and vast majority of them are really
great people.
Especially if you see any that have like the 10-year badge or more that have been there a while. It's like they have zero incentive to screw anything up.
Yeah, the goons that have been there the longest have the most respect from the community because they've really earned it and put their time and effort in and have learned how to handle situations well. So like, especially if you see that, like Render said, 10-year badge, those are the ones I usually talk to the most. Not that the new ones are terrible, but you have a bad situation and it can change the conference for you, which is why I go with friends. Friends have always kept me safe since then. Going in groups has kept me safe since then. I've had, sometimes some rough experiences. I've had some rough experiences, but I can just say, like, put my hand up and say, can I have some help? And people will come over and just even stand near me and be like, what's up? I'm like, can you walk me like here? And someone else will get me out of a bad situation. Even if I've never met them, usually there's somebody super nice willing to be like, hey, I will walk you to the cab stand. No problem.
So definitely make friends now or make friends when you arrive for TDI. TDI is great. Make some friends and then you can go to DEF CON with them, because going around in a pack, even if you change your pack up throughout the week, makes everything safer and just more fun because you have somebody to bounce things off of. Making sure your group is like somewhat diverse so that like you've got the person who's really into car hacking and the person who's really into badge life and whatever, because they're going to know about different things going on. And so that gives you kind of the biggest spectrum of events to get interested in. But again, if you don't currently have a pack, again, like raise your hands and be like, hey, need some help. The hotel security has worked out in my favor, but I am a femme. So it may not work out in your favor if you are from a different group. But for me, I've definitely like gone to hotel security and been like, yeah, I'm getting creeped out. Can you walk me back to my room and whatever? And I have not had problems with that.
Yeah, the best parts, like there's so many parts of the community, and the best parts are the people that are willing to support and help out and give you that great experience, So it's definitely life-changing, the groups of friends that you can make at these conferences. Like I met these 2 at conferences. So
I have to say that, at a event of 25, 30,000 people, because I've been to other large conferences, I feel far safer at, DEF CON and other hacker events than I do at other like just general public things that are of similar size. Not to say that you need to completely drop your guard, but
petty theft absolutely does happen.
Yes.
Keep your stuff in your backpack, please.
But even then, it's like we've had wallets stolen and bag stuff. But I still remember there was one case where somebody stole somebody's wallet, but their ID and passport made it back to like lost and found. So it's like a benevolent thief. So,
yeah.
But yeah, but to your earlier point about meeting people and everything, there's always there's a rule that I remember that came up with for DEF CON, and that's ignorance is corrected, stupidity is punished. You are allowed to not know about something. Nobody can know everything.
Don't fake knowing the thing.
It can be
Someone will
incredibly
probably
intimidating to be
notice.
sitting there, with a group of people who are talking about something you have no idea about. It is okay to say, sorry, what was that? I don't know about that. Can you fill me in? And they'll give you like the 60-second, here's what you need to know just to follow the context of the conversation. They're more than willing to do that. The people who get themselves into trouble are the ones that pretend they know everything and are very quickly found out and look like complete fools. I've had people that say, oh yeah, I'm an expert in this and this and this. And it's like, oh, really? Well, the guy who invented it is sitting right next to me. You want to tell him about that? And to see a person shrink that quickly is always interesting. But it's be honest with yourself, be honest with others. Like I said, ignorance is corrected. That you will get a very quick education.
A nice education. It's not meant to sound...
Well, it's to continue the conversation or provide some context so you can contribute. But pretending you know everything, there's always going to be somebody smarter than you in the room.
Which is like the best part.
Oh yeah, find them, like ask them questions, but don't pretend to be the smartest person in the room, or don't think you're the smartest person in the room.
Well, we have 5 minutes left, so let's do most important thing you want people to take away from prepping / enjoying the event. Straith?
Most fun thing I've done at the conference that I suggest people do is participating in contests. It feels really good just to show up to one thing with something you made, and that one thing you made, you carry it around with you all weekend, and you have so many people ask questions and you make friends off it. So if you want to make friends, participate in one of the contests. It gives you something to talk about. And if you have any questions, just find me on the internet. My name is Straith everywhere. It is super easy. I love talking to people. Hit me up.
And Render?
For me, it would be much like Straith, participate. But the other thing is to not try and plan everything, to let randomness and just let the sea take you where it will. The most delightful things that have ever happened to me are completely random and things that you could never have planned, but it's like you happen to meet up with an incredible group of people who you realize, oh, they have the other half of the solution to this problem I've got. And you end up building something that weekend or going off on some random to some random bar, and you meet some other people. It just letting letting go of the rudder sometimes and just letting things happen is the best thing. You can go, you can try to learn and everything like that, but there is so much opportunity there to just let amazing things happen. And if you do, it will happen. You will come back with those stories that nobody else will believe, or they'll believe completely because you can't make that up.
I guess mine is make it easy for people to find you. I know everyone's like, OSINT, don't post a picture of you with a memorable thing or whatever. No, go and say, I am currently in the food court at this hotel and I'm looking for somebody to hang out with for the afternoon. Or, hey, I'm currently at this party and I'm looking for people to talk to. Or just make it very clear, here is where I am, here's what I want to do, and people will find you. And sometimes just make a decision. Be like, I am going to go to this really cool restaurant I heard about for dinner at 6 p.m. and I'm going to be leaving from here. Be at the taxi stand looking for me if you also want to go. Sometimes you just need to be the one to make the plan.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to approach a group of people that might be talking about something interesting or working on something interesting. People are doing this in public because they want to engage. That is the best thing I've always done is just not held back of, I couldn't help but overhear you. Can we get in on this? Nobody's going to say, you got to be this tall to enter or anything like that. It's like, oh, okay, part ways, open up, and yeah. But to Nicole's thing, beware of the vortex.
Nah, enjoy the vortexes. Don't beware of them.
No, it's the vortex.
If you're trying to get dinner and everyone is indecisive about dinner, sometimes you need to be that person.
Fair.
There's a point at where you have enough people that you can't make a decision, or it's, oh, I just need to run to the room, or let me call a friend or something. And you find out 2 hours later, you're still standing there trying to organize all this chaos. You know, somebody needs to say, all right, invoking the vortex. Those who want to go, we're going now.
And here's the thing, where do you post to? Usually I would say Twitter. Twitter has become a dumpster fire.
What are we using this year?
I am planning to use both Twitter and Blue Sky.
I'm not on that yet.
We'll fix that in a minute. But yeah, so for now, unfortunately, you got to kind of keep using Twitter because Mastodon is diversified and it makes it a little bit harder.
Instagram.
Instagram, yeah, possibly. It's a little bit harder to organize like a group though there.
Hashtag DEF CON. I'm usually scrolling it while I'm going, so it's something.
But yeah.
Or just stand up on a chair and say, hey, I'm looking to talk about whatever. You know,
I have done that. It's actually really fun.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So I will post links in the comments of this once it goes live, but hackersummercamp.guide is a guide where I link to tons of resources, and TDI wrote a little guide, tips and tricks like the highlights, which is going to be in that guide, and it's going to also get posted to our Discord. So if you're looking for advice, hackersummercamp.guide, and we're probably going to do another one of these in July. So look for the date on that. Thanks, everybody.